One of the most asked questions that I get from potential home buyers is, Benny, when is the best time to buy real estate? Do I buy now or do I wait? Listen, let's be honest. Our market has been wild. Our world has been wild. We just went through one of the most pivotal elections, arguably in US history. We've had a very up and down real estate market for the past 4 or 5 years. And more specifically, in the last couple of years, we've seen elevated interest rate causing a major affordability problem for most people to get into the market. My name is Benny Rabishin. I've been a mortgage advisor and strategist for the last 20 years. I've spoken with thousands and thousands of people and have helped thousands of families get into home ownership. But this market is very interesting right now. This is for anyone that is exploring the market and wondering when is the best time to get into it. I'm not going to give you any fluff today. There's a lot of people in my space that are trying to strong arm potential buyers, and now is the greatest time. And I'm going to lay it all out today. Is now a good time, or is it best to wait? And I'm going to touch on some great research and data that I've done that is going to help you make an eloquent decision on when is the best time for you to get into real estate. Now, if you wait until the end of this video, I am going to show you an amazing trick that I give my buyers who are looking for the best deal in this market. You guys find this information valuable in your real estate and financial goals, do me a favor, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about this information. Let me know if there's some more information that you're looking for to help you make an eloquent decision, and I will go ahead and make videos about those topics. So let's just dive into the elephant in the room, right? There's a few major things that have been impacting the real estate market. We saw interest rates during the pandemic as low as around 3%. And over the past few years, we've seen interest rates drive more than double. At one point, the end of 2023, we saw rates get to 8%, which is wild. And what this has done is it's caused a lot of buyers to come on the fence and just wait. More importantly, there was just an affordability issue. Those higher interest rates were really difficult and not palatable to get into real estate. When you compare what you're paying in rent and what that mortgage payment is going to be, it just didn't pencil. The other thing that has been very interesting with that is even though interest rates have risen so much, home values have not dropped. So we've seen them plateau a little bit. There are ebbs and flows with real estate. This is how this goes. But the reality is home values haven't dropped. So let me tell you why that has happened. The reason why home values have not plummeted, even at these higher interest rates, even though demand has diminished a little bit, is we have an inventory issue in the United States. There simply are not enough homes to satisfy the demand, even if demand has lowered with these higher interest rates. Just to give you an example, at this point in the fourth quarter of 2024, there are about 1.1 million homes available for sale in the entire United States. Now, back in 2008, when we saw the Great Recession, we saw a real estate crash, which was the biggest crash ever in real estate. The difference at that time was there were about 4 million homes available for sale. So after that big crash, over the past 10 to 15 years, builders have been reluctant and have not been building enough homes to satisfy the demand. And then on top of that, in comes the millennial buyer pool. This is the biggest buyer pool, bigger than the baby boomers. So now the difference between now and 2008 is we have not enough inventory and a lot more demand, where the opposite back then was too much inventory, not enough demand, and that's why we saw a crash. So now it's a very interesting market right now. We're seeing home values continuing to go up, granted, not at crazy levels. Depending on where you are in the country, call it 3 to 5% is about the average appreciation every year of home values going up. Meanwhile, we have elevated interest rates. So then you ask yourself, is this a good time to buy real estate? So let's touch on a couple factors. All right, so the reality is many are predicting that mortgage rates are going to come down in the next couple years. In 2025 and 2026, many economists and people in my space believe that mortgage rates are going to drop 1, maybe 2%. So if you're thinking as a buyer, that sounds very appealing. So why would you not just wait for that? So I'm going to tell you what the current landscape is of this market right now in the fourth quarter of 2024 and what to expect in the next 2 or 3 months. Now, right now, seasonality when it comes to real estate, usually spring and summer is the busiest time for buying and selling of real estate. And the reason for that is couple things. One is depending on where you are in the country, that's usually when the weather is nicer. That's when people are energetic and happy and going to open houses and buying real estate. The other thing is people with families or kids typically transact in real estate in the summertime when their kids are out of school. For many, it is too hard to uplift kids out of school and move to different cities or different states. They'd rather just get through the school year. So that's why historically summer has always been a really busy time. So now you look at the fourth quarter. We're going into the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. What happens during these times? Many people turn off. Most people aren't looking to buy real estate during these times because it's the holidays. There's a lot of fun things happening. Many are waiting for spring and summer. It's this reason right here of why I've always been such a big fan of buying during the holidays. The reason for that is the demand lowers a little bit. So as a buyer, you are not competing with a ton of other buyers. The other thing is anyone that is selling their home during the holidays is normally a very motivated seller. They don't have the ability to wait until spring and summer for whatever reason, divorce, relocation, right? Any of those reasons, they're telling their agent, I can't wait. I need to get my home on the market right now. So as a buyer, you have a motivated seller. You're potentially not competing with a lot of other buyers. This is where you can get a great deal. So what we are seeing in this market right now in the fourth quarter of 2024 is homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer, right? This correlates with what I told you. We're going into the holidays. There aren't as many buyers out there. So if you ask yourself, I want to get a deal with real estate. Real estate is already really expensive. Let's not lie about that. It is. And home values are continuing to go up. If I'm looking for a deal right now and I put myself in a buyer's shoes, I want to find a motivated seller. I want to not have to compete with a lot of other buyers. So people in this market right now are benefiting greatly. So if you're asking yourself, when is the best time? Well, if you want to get a really good deal, you want to get into real estate when everyone else is not also doing it, right? It's the following the herd mentality. Now, the herd is literally millions of people are waiting for interest rates to come down in the next couple years. So I'm going to touch on what that environment will look like at that time. Now, right now in this current market, people are getting price reductions, right? You're able to offer on a home and potentially pay less than what the seller is asking. Another great strategy we're using with our buyers is they're offering on the house and we're asking the seller to give them money to help cover closing costs. When you purchase a home, you don't just need a down payment. There's also closing costs involved. Those are typically about 2 to 3% of whatever the price of the home is. So if you're buying a $700,000 home and closing costs are $15,000, our buyers are now going in and saying, we'll pay $700,000 for your house, but we want $15,000. It's covering all of their closing costs. It's a massive benefit. Another tactic we're using is we're asking the seller to give us those credits. And instead of using those credits to cover closing costs, we're using that to get them a lower than market interest rate, right? So if interest rates are 7% and we're asking the seller to give us a credit, we're using that credit to get them a rate much lower than that. We helped a client last month buy. We were able to get her a rate at 4.99%. That is more than 2% lower than what current rates are right now. If you're financially in a position to buy a house, right? You've been pre-approved, you've spoken to a lender by myself, we've given you a plan, and you can actively make sense of buying in this market, the deals are out there right now. So let's talk about the alternative and what most people are focusing on, and that is interest rates to drop. So let's talk about what the impact will have if you say, you know what, I'm just going to wait for interest rates to come down. Meanwhile, you're financially able to get in now, but you still want to wait. So let me give you some perspective. In August of 2024, we saw a big change to interest rates during that month. And without getting into the weeds, I'll just give you a higher level perspective. Interest rates dropped about 0.5% to 1% lower than where market rates are. Being that we've been at these high elevated rates for 2 years, when it dropped 0.5%, it got crazy in real estate. Buyers who have been waiting for rates to drop came in flurries. We were very busy. We helped more families in those couple months when rates dropped than we have all year. It was a very big time. Now imagine seeing what happened during that time when rates dropped only 0.5%. If that happens in 2025, which many predict, we do see rates drop at least 0.5%. Imagine the amount of buyers that are going to come into the market. So what happened is during that time when rates were low, we then saw rates tick back up. And all those buyers that didn't transact during that time were back on the fence. So now they're just waiting again for that to happen. And during that time, my buyers that were buying, trying to capitalize on these lower interest rates, were competing with 2, 3, 4, 10 other buyers on a property. What happens when you're competing in a multiple offer situation or a high demand market is your negotiating power is diminished. Meaning if you find a house that you like and you're competing with another buyer, it is very difficult, in fact, arguably almost impossible to negotiate the types of terms that you can get when you're not competing with another buyer. You're not getting price reductions. You're not getting these seller credits that I talked about to help cover closing costs. You're not getting these seller credits to help get you a lower than market interest rate. In fact, some of the buyers that I had buying during that time when there was high demand were actually paying more than what the seller wanted. So my prediction in 2025 is if we see rates come down 0.5%, there are literally millions of buyers that are waiting for that moment to happen. So if you ask yourself, I'm a buyer, when is the best time? Do I want to get a deal? Or do I want to negotiate with a ton of other people and potentially pay more for that home? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. The other thing that a lot of people don't talk about is as interest rates come down and this demand comes back into the market, the result of that on home values is we're going to see home values continue to increase, right? Remember, we have a lack of inventory in the United States. So if we have low inventory and our demand picks up because interest rates are coming down and they're all competing for very few homes available for sale, that is going to result in home values continuing to rise. So if you think it's expensive now, during those high demand markets, it will get even more expensive. Okay, so now understanding the perspective of getting into the market when many are sleeping and waiting for rates to drop, or getting into that competitive market, you need to ask yourself, what type of market do you want to buy real estate? All right, now let's get into the hack that I talked about at the beginning of the video to show you guys how to search for a great deal in this market. I'm going to show you this tip right now. So as you know, there are many apps out there that allow you to search for real estate. The two big ones are Zillow and Redfin. I just personally like Redfin. You could do the same thing on Zillow, but I'm going to show you the steps exactly on what to take via Redfin app to show you how to find these deals. Okay, so you're going to go to your Redfin app. You're going to go into it. At the top, you're going to search whatever city that you're looking to buy in, okay? For me, I happen to be located in Bend, Oregon, so I typed in Bend, and you can see all the houses that come up. Here's the big thing. You're going to go to filters. You can change all this stuff. Price, into the price point that you're pre-approved for. I would do a wide range for this one right here. For this one, I did $425 to $950. Bedroom, bathrooms, you can be specific on this. I just like to keep that pretty general. And for home type, same type of thing. Is it a house? Is it a condo? Is it a townhome, multifamily? Choose whatever. Here are the big things. Status. Make sure all three of these are checked. Coming soon, active, under contract. You want to make sure you have access to everything that's on the market. Here's the big one. Time on Redfin. Click that drop down. You're going to scroll down. You're going to choose more than 60 days. Now, you can choose more than 45 days, 30 days, or even 90 or 180 days. Now, the key to this is the longer that it's been on the market, that seller is probably getting very antsy to sell. You're probably going to start seeing on the history that they're starting to do some price reductions. Now, let me be very clear. When you see price reductions happening in this market, this is not an indication that the market is crashing. It's not an indication that home values are coming down. What most likely happened was either through the not great advice from the real estate agent, or in most cases, we still have pretty greedy sellers out there. People that think their house is worth more than it really was. Now, we did see that during the pandemic. Sellers could pretty much ask for whatever and a buyer would pay for it. Now, with buyers forced with these higher interest rates, are a lot more picky. So these sellers that come to market at a price that is not reasonable are sitting on the market, and you're starting to see price reductions. And guess what happens? They start to get really desperate. My clients are going through this exact setup right here, and they are finding homes that have been on the market for a really long time. This gives you an opportunity as a buyer to negotiate some amazing terms. Big price reductions. Again, those credits to get lower rates, credits to cover closing costs. The ball is in your court. I would argue right now, between now and let's call it February, is going to be a great time if you're a buyer and if you want to get a good deal. If you don't want to get a good deal, I would wait until spring and summer of next year when all these buyers come back. Potentially we see lower interest rates. So again, are you a buyer now who wants a deal, or do you want to wait for the herd to come back into the market?